Now, shifting focus over to Hungary, the country's parliament has voted to redefine the concept of family in the country's constitution by barring same-sex couples from adopting children. The Hungarian MPs approved of new measures targeting the country's beleaguered LGBT community in the government's latest attack in defense of traditional values. The new Hungarian constitution defines family as based on marriage and the parent-child relation. The mother is a woman, the father a man. It also mandates that parents raise children in a conservative spirit. Hungary has never allowed gay marriage but still recognizes civil unions. Adoption by gay and lesbian couples was possible until now if one partner applied as a single person. Now, rights groups denounced the changes and called on European leaders to raise their voices. In May, Hungary banned legal gender recognition, meaning transgender and intersex people cannot change how they were designated at birth. Prime Minister Viktor Orbán's conservative government proposed the legislation earlier this year. The nationalist Fidesz party of Prime Minister Orbán has worked to recast Hungary in a more conservative mold since winning a third successive landslide in 2018. For more details and to get in a sense of perspective on all these developments, let's go across to our guest, Lasse Skytt, who's a journalist and joins us live from Budapest. Thank you for joining our broadcast today, Lasse. Now, the director of Amnesty International Hungary has said, and I quote, "This is a dark day for Hungary's LGBTQ community and a dark day for human rights." What are your thoughts? Is this a step backward for Hungary?
Yeah, it's definitely not a step forward for the community, and we've seen a huge outrage in the LGBT community and amongst Orbán's opponents in the recent days. But when it comes to rights for minorities in Hungary, the government has this approach that they want the majority to have their rights prioritized. And one of the rights for the majority, according to the Orbán government, is to have, to prioritize the nuclear family where the child has a male father and a female mother. So that's the approach from the government.
Right. And since you mentioned the rights of the minorities in Hungary, is Viktor Orbán using LGBT issues as a means of rallying support among his conservative base while, of course, dealing with complicated issues such as EU divisions and the coronavirus, as he also did in the past with migration?
Yes, I think that's for sure that, there's only a little more than 1 year until the election is coming in Hungary. And like you mentioned, 4 years ago at the last election, migration was a huge issue there that really rallied a lot of Orbán supporters. And now migration is lower than it was back then. So he needed a new topic that can, mobilize his voters. And the family issue is a big, it's a divisive issue, right? Because, so he's worried that he would lose some powers for the next election. So this is his way to kind of start the election campaign.
Right. Lasse, the new laws also relax oversight of the spending of public funds. The legislation also includes a constitutional amendment that critics say lowers the legal threshold for the government to declare a state of emergency, apart from the numerous laws that impinge upon, of course, LGBT rights. Has the Orbán government used the coronavirus pandemic to consolidate unchecked power?
See, this is a delicate issue because we saw back in the spring that Orbán was using the law so he could rule by decree, and many were outraged by that back then. But the law was then changed back, and it didn't turn into a real dictatorship, as many of the critics has said. So now we're seeing a new step that way again. So we should be skeptical, of course, but we're still to see this turn into a real authoritarian dictatorship. Having said that, there are many deaths from corona-related cases at the moment in Hungary, and this is also a way to kind of move away the attention on that issue. So I think also another point is that the opposition in Hungary is finally beginning to gather together and be stronger against Orbán. So he's fearing a little bit that this could be going against his power.
Right. Lastly, last but not the least, according to the NGO Freedom House's report on latest nations in transit earlier this year, Hungary is now a hybrid regime, having lost its status as a semi-consolidated democracy due to Viktor Orbán's continued assaults on the country's democratic institutions. This is not what you and I are saying. This is what the report had to say. Would you agree with the report's observations? Is this also a result of a weak EU and a greater Russian and Chinese influence?
I don't want to say anything about the report because I haven't read it to the fullest, but there are definitely problems in Hungary when it comes to these issues. But in that story, it's very important to know that Orbán does have a lot of support amongst the Hungarian voters, and he knows that these issues can mobilize his voters against the mainstream Western and EU liberal approach. So this is big politics, and we're yet to see. We will see in the next year how it will turn out in the end.
Absolutely. Right. We'll have to wait and watch till next year how everything pans out. Having said that, thank you so much, Lasse Skytt, for joining our broadcast and sharing your precious inputs.
Thank you.